Senate Finance Committee will come to order. Thank you, members, for being patient. We have one more bill before us, Senator Koran, and House File 3346, our state employee contracts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Happy to present House File 3346. And so what this is the labor contracts and the plan ratification bill from the Subcommittee on Employee Relations. When this came through the Subcommittee on Employee Relations, it was nearly a unanimous decision and approval on all of the contracts that were presented before us. So that hasn't happened in a while. But there are some contracts in here that represent fiscal years 2021. And it's for Minnesota Law Enforcement Association contract, which is in here. This includes that. For 2022-2023, the contracts included are AFSCME, MAPE, Middle Management Association, the State Residential Schools Education Association, Minnesota Nurses Association, the MLEA, and employees covered under the compensation plans, such as the managerial plan, commissioner's plans, and the OLA plan. Also includes 2022-2023 Minnesota State agreements and plans, as well as several memorandums of understanding, also known as MOUs. The 2021 MLEA contract includes, from a pay increase perspective, 2.5% across the board for fiscal year 20, 2.5% increase for 2021, and incorporates all the legislative increases that were passed last session. Contracts included in here for 2022 and 2023. The agreements include 2.5% increases across the boards for both fiscal year 22 and 23. The agreements submitted in the Minnesota Management Budget Plan covered 39,000 individuals across all state governments serving the citizens of Minnesota. And the plans submitted for the Minnesota State cover about 4,500 employees and faculty. The MOUs included in it also cover or provide for incentives. Some of the changes in there are incentives for employees to work additional shifts in our 24-hour by 7 operations. Creates financial incentives for referrals, recruitment, and retention of really hard-to-fill positions. Permits employees to use sick leave in care of minor children required to quarantine. Creates pay adjustments for radio operators. Also creates new salary ranges for law enforcement officers. Madam Chair, the one I'd like to call out too is the MOU that we included in here was for the Office of the Legislative Auditor. And we've struggled, it's a vital resource, as everyone knows, for the legislature and the citizens. They are our eyes and ears. They've struggled dearly to fill staff. One of the unique things about the loss of financial auditors, almost exclusively in that body, has been losing auditors to other state agencies. Interestingly enough, not to private sector. So I asked the legislative auditor, Judy Randall, to look at ways that we could create a new, more competitive salary range. And so what they did is looked at what existing state plans would provide what they believe are the financial incentives, but also have some existing precedent. And so they followed the judiciary compensation plan. It's probably the closest and more competitive from a wage perspective, but their responsibilities still aren't nearly what the Office of the Legislative responsibilities are. So that's what that plan reflects, and I think it'd be a great deal to, one, retain those we have and hopefully recruit and fill those vital positions. So with that, Madam Chair, we also have the changes in the benefits program. There are really no changes in the underlying medical plans. Some changes in the emergency room out-of-pocket change and the various cost levels, some modest increases in those. Changes dental open enrollment from a once every contract year to once every year. And then it's estimated that the medical premiums for employee costs will be about 3% increase for calendar year 2022. And the financials on it, or the total cost of the contract, if you look at the compensation plans and everything included in this bill. The biennial new money is about it's $468 million, $756,000. And then impact on the next biennium is $726 million, $36,000. So those are the financial impacts for this particular contract. They all seem very reasonable and in line. And again, with the incentives and the challenges for hiring, I think they've accomplished a good contract, and we'll stand for questions. We also have Michelle Weber here, the expert, if we have any questions.
Madam Chair.
Senator Ingebrigtsen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Koran, you go through those last two numbers. You had the biennial or the...
Oh, yeah.
Senator Koran, can you move that, your microphone just a little bit closer to your
I'm sorry.
mouth? Thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
Very good.
I've never net-
biennial new money, I'm looking at the chart on the back of the handout here of state employees. And you quoted 460 some million?
Yeah, $468 million, $765,000.
400 how many? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Senator Ingebrigtsen, what was the question?
The question, repeat that again.
So $468,765,426.
I'm sorry, I just didn't catch it the first time. I thought you were a couple of dollars off, but
No.
I see you're on the money. I'm just checking.
And Senator Ingebrigtsen, and then the next biennium impact is $726,336,686.
So, Madam Chair, if I could.
Senator Ingebrigtsen.
So this is a number I've never seen before. I have to be honest. So, state employee salary settlements, but this is the cost of employees, right on the left column here, of
Senator Ingebrigtsen?
Senator Koran.
8.7 billion
Yeah.
per year.
The $8.7 billion, that is correct.
And Senator Ingebrigtsen, you're working off this subcommittee on employee, this memorandum, is that
Yep.
correct? Okay, everybody has that in their packet.
Yeah.
Senator Ingebrigtsen, that's the biennial base,
Oh,
8.6 billion, or 8.7 billion.
okay. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Senator Koran, can you just give us a walkthrough why we're working off the House file? It went to rules, this unofficial engrossment.
Yeah, Madam Chair, the House passed this bill earlier in the session, and then we ultimately picked that bill and then amended the remaining, I think there were 4 additional contracts that were then settled in MOUs after the House passed that bill. So we amended on those 4 onto the House bill, and so this will then match, and so hopefully they can concur when we pass it off the Senate floor.
Very good, okay. Wonderful. Hello, Ms. Weber, nice to see you. Ms.
Hello,
Weber
Madam
with the
Chair.
LCC. Yes.
I'm Michelle Weber, Director of the Legislative Coordinating Commission, and we staff the Subcommittee on Employee Relations. I'm available to assist with any questions. Senator Koran did a great overview of what's included in the bill.
Great. Are there any questions for Senator Koran or Ms. Weber? Senator Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm still trying to figure out, where's that money coming from? Is that general fund expense, or are these coming from the employers that they're dealing with? How does that work?
Ms. Weber.
Ms. Weber?
Madam Chair and Senator Johnson, it's an all funds cost, so it depends on whatever funding source the employees were paid from. So it includes federal funds, it includes in the Department of Natural Resources, for example, environmental funds and general funds. So this is the all funds change as a result of the contracts.
Very good. Senator Johnson.
So, Ms. Weber, then, so was this reflected in the part that's coming out of the state funds, and is that reflected in the governor's recommendations, or how is this reflected in our spreadsheets?
Mr. Naumann?
Mr. Allen.
Looking at you.
Madam Chair, I was waiting to see whether Ms. Weber wanted to speak to that. So it's my understanding that the settlements are fairly routine following the enactment of the biennial budget. So these are dollars that agencies already have, and to the extent that there is insufficient amount, that's the occasion when you would see perhaps a deficiency request. I'm not aware of those at this point. So agencies will manage the resources they have. So this is basically internalized cost.
Senator Johnson? Good? Okay. Senator Ingebrigtsen.
A follow-up on that, Madam Chair. So, Senator Johnson, I think we're on the same page. Are you inquiring as to whether, when it's budget time and you get the printout, you don't get a printout of wages, you just get a printout of operation? Is that what you're talking about? Is it separated? Is that what you?
Senator
you're wondering?
Johnson.
I've never seen it separated for wages.
Yeah, no, thank you, Senator Robertson, Madam Chair. No, I just see this number on here on the back page, and yeah, I haven't seen necessarily the wage numbers broken out, but how is that reflected in our accounting at the end of the day of where is that coming from? How are we getting those funds? Then how does that impact really the next biennium? If we approve them now, what is next biennium? Are we, again, going to be coming up and then, oh, look, we're running short on funds, and, is that just buried in the operating expense, or how is that reflected? So I'm just curious on how all the mechanics of this works.
Mr. Nauman.
So, Madam Chair and Senators, what I'll do is call your attention to the document that last sheet in the summary put together by the Subcommittee on Employee Relations, authored by Ms. Weber. I think when we think about funding, you will often have a biennial base, and then we talk about an incremental amount, and that usually that incremental increase or subtraction is usually an added or subtracted appropriation compared to that base. I think in this case, what's being discussed or what's being displayed is the value of that contract prior to the increase. And if I get this wrong, I know that Ms. Weber is going to correct me, but the way I look at that sheet or that display is this is the value that the contract represents as an increase. However, last year when the legislature established the budget, there were a collection of increases that agencies received across state government, and it's the Commissioner of Management and Budgets, and there's an internal process within the executive branch for settling these new contracts. And then they manage those increases within the existing resources. That's what the negotiation process produces throughout the summer months of last year.
Thank you, Mr. Nauman. Senator Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Nauman, so that's some of the issue that we have at times when we get a deficiency request, is that we set our state budget then at May, hopefully May. We get that set, and then the negotiations will go on through the summer and then get kind of affirmed. As we see here, I think the dates were, September or something, that they were ratified.
Madam Chair and
Mr. Nauman.
and Senator Johnson, there's a myriad of reasons why a deficiency request could come to the legislature from the executive branch. I was citing that as a possible example. I don't think that's always very common, because usually the agencies, when they negotiate the contracts, are managing to the resources that they have. So I think it's less common. I'm sure there are examples of it. I will confess this is getting a little out of my area of expertise, but typically it's been my experience that the agencies will manage based on the budget that the legislature produces. Contracts are settled along the lines of what the resources are that they have. I think the challenge with the chart that you have in front of you from the paradigm that the legislature operates is it uses the word base and it uses the word new money, and it's easy to then make the assumption, that means a new appropriation. I think in this example, it doesn't necessarily. I'm not aware that the contract requires, in fact, just the opposite. There isn't a need for a new appropriation that I'm aware of to satisfy the contract. And Mr. Erickson has given me an indication he might be closer to this if you want to have more
Mr.
detailed
Erickson,
questions answered from him.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Erickson, thank you for coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. I was happy to be here to be the friend that needs to be phoned. Senator Johnson, Mr. Nauman was largely right in that to kind of walk through all these pieces. This biennial base number comes from various assumptions that's made by Minnesota Management and Budget in negotiating the contracts. There's certain assumptions based on how many FTEs exist in state government. It includes vacancies. It includes all sorts of things like where folks are at in the steps in their career. And then when the raises that are agreed to in the contracts are applied to that scenario, it creates this new money. It doesn't, as Mr. Nauman suggests, create a new obligation on the state to spend more money. It does require them to spend 4 FTEs that they have within that contract, but there's no new appropriation authority to spend over and above what the agency already has authority to spend. And so agencies, in having to fulfill these contracts, have to manage within their budgets, the budget they have. The new money, on the other hand, does create a pressure that when we come back next year, we'll see operating requests from various agencies, and part of that will be to fulfill contractual obligations that they have for the FTEs that they have on staff. And then within that number, I know you asked this earlier, the biennial new money is approximately, I think, about 2/3 general fund and 1/3 other funds.
Thank you.
Senator Johnson?
Yes, if I could just follow up. I know Senator Koran, you said it was going to be 5 minutes, but we've opened up a black box. So if you don't mind, I'd like to prod around. So just for a second then, so when you say that they're building their assumption, I know that doesn't directly impact what we're talking about here, but for future negotiations and when we're talking about budgets going forward, then when they're building those models and estimating the resources that they're going to require for their different FTEs, are those FTEs, is that positions available, or are those filled positions when they're building out those models? Because I know there's been a little bit of a discrepancy between the possible FTEs that they have and the actual FTEs. So when they're building those models, what do they use in doing that?
Madam Chair, Senator Johnson, my understanding is that they use the vacant FTEs as well. There is a presumed churn built in of the vacancies that sort of happen on a rolling basis, but the underlying number presumes, I believe, that all, this is the total obligation potential, the vacant FTEs included.
Senator Johnson? You good? Okay.
I got another question.
Senator Cran, or anything to add to that?
Madam Chair, and to Senator Johnson, that is one of the areas that we've attempted to tackle over the years, is that available empty or the unfilled FTEs, which is a fairly sizable pool of money, which is then provides them flexibility. You would call it an available fund. Many titles have been used for it, but it is a pool of dollars that those agencies use for a variety of tasks.
Okay. Senator Ingebrigtsen?
So, thank you, Madam Chair. So that's the very question I was going to ask about. If an agency happens to lose 15, 20 people and don't fill them for a period of 6 months, that money goes to wherever the department head wants to put it?
Madam Chair.
Senator
Madam Chair, they do keep those funds. And Senator Ingebrigtsen, I think I've carried a bill almost every year to return or cancel out those unfilled FTE positions after a certain period of time. Because my experience, and that was some 20 years ago, some of those pools of dollars could be fairly sizable, and they remain sizable pools of dollars that they can utilize for other projects and expenses within the agency.
Mr. Nauman?
So, Madam Chair and Senator Ingebrigtsen, it's probably worth remembering that if the agency had an appropriation authority that was absent guiding language that carries money forward, at the end of the biennium, the resources would cancel unless there is authority to carry that money forward. That said, I think the Senator's testimony is accurate, just because most of the operating money or that operating balance that you described in your question may create a bit of an unspent value. The agency, within the confines of the uses of that particular appropriation, could spend that in other ways. But I didn't want to leave the impression that it just rolled forward from biennium to biennium. There are controlling statutes that create cancellations, and there are occasions where the legislature will actively enact laws to overwrite that cancellation law. It's done fairly routinely. I think in your budget area that happens on occasion. So I just wanted to make sure that that context was on the record as well.
Thank you, Mr. Nauman. Good? Okay. Good looking at me. Senator Kivmeyer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in the budgets, when we have a budget year, almost always the agencies come with an operational increase request. And most of the time what's happening is that they settle for contracts and they don't have money from the previous appropriation to fully cover that. Or they have used the salary money for other purposes through vacancies, variety of things like that, and then they don't have the money to pay the next ongoing needs of contractual obligations without laying people off. And so that's kind of thing. But the big thing, if you want to take a look, it's those operational increases and those requests. Those are good questions to ask them. How many FTEs went unfilled during that period of time, and what did they do with that money that was intended to be for employee salaries?
Senator Kiffmeyer, I see that there is someone, Ms. Kristen Batson. Would you like to come up and just clarify anything that was misspoken? And maybe just fill in the blanks. I think there is some questions about the carryover of the FTEs. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you, Chair Rosen, members of the committee. My name is
And
Chris.
please grab that microphone a little more aggressively. There
Okay.
you go.
Is that better?
Yeah.
My name is Kristen Batson. I'm Deputy Commissioner of Enterprise Employee Resources at Minnesota Management and Budget. I have been following this conversation very closely, and it is largely correct. And the funds do cancel at the end of a biennium, so that is intended to be the stopgap. But agencies largely fund positions out of their operating budget and have some latitude about where those funds come from and managing their own budgets within the biennium.
Okay, very good. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Batson? No? Anything you would do differently as far as moving forward?
Well,
Or am I opening up a Pandora's box here?
my concerns heading into this biennium are the labor market that we are forced to compete in and keeping positions filled. We are working very hard to recruit and retain so that we can keep providing the services that Minnesotans depend on. So I actually have a slightly different concern just because the labor market has changed very quickly underneath our feet. And a lot of the work that we have before you for approval represents our strong interest in recruiting and retaining the workforce that Minnesota needs.
Oh, that's very good, yeah. And didn't we have?
Madam Chair, and Madam Chair.
Senator Koran, yep.
And Ms. Batson, I'd send out an invitation to work with you to build the best workforce by changing the training structure, and everybody knows what my desires are. I do want fewer employees. I want better paid employees, but until we have a training structure revamp to create attachment to why every job exists and full attachment to the life cycle why they exist, we can't have that. But I'd be more than happy to walk side by side and make it happen with you. So I've made that offer every year I've gone here. I would like to see somebody take me up on it. So.
Very good. Ms. Batson, did we completely, or Senator Koran, completely work the State Patrol issue?
What's that?
The State Patrol contract?
Yeah, their
issue.
contract.
Is that done? Is there any corrections that need to be made?
I
or-
think the one that we have is it's in here. What's it? Yeah, they're both in here. One is the 2020 and the 2021.
Okay.
And the 22-23, and there was some adjustments in there in 22-23, I believe, to try and get some of those wages corrected or to get some parity across the other law enforcement agencies, but both of them are in here.
Okay, great. And Peace in the Valley, except for some of those corrections, or
Do you want to cover that?
Ms. Weber?
Madam Chair, the first contract from MLEA that was submitted to the Subcommittee on Employee Relations was for the 2020-21 year, and that did incorporate the costs associated with legislatively enacted changes to the salaries. In addition to the legislative action that took place, there was a 2.25% increase granted the first year of that contract, and then a 2.5% increase granted the second year. More recently, MMB reached an agreement with MLEA for the current biennium.
Okay.
And that agreement includes a 2.5 increase both years of the biennium.
Okay, very good. And we're good. Negotiations are done.
Madam Chair,
Senator Cran.
that the legislatively appropriated piece of it too is established at 8.45% increase in salaries for all employees, October 2020, and a 10.45% increase for those that were at the top of their salary ranges, their pay scale.
Okay.
So I'm trying to bring some of that equity because of
Back up. Right.
the challenge we've had in getting them to be competitive.
Right. Exactly. Senator Ingebrigtsen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I won't belabor this, but in county government, where I come from, there's federal programs that get appropriated to certain departments, wherever within county government, and they're only promised a job for 2 or 3 years, and then if the county chooses to keep them, they do. Do we have any programs like that? Do you have any funds that run out for a particular position and then all of a sudden they're without a job? Is there a lot of that in state government?
Ms. Metzen.
Chair Rosen, Senator Ingebrigtsen, I wouldn't say that there's a lot of it. There are positions that are temporary unclassified positions that can last for up to 3 years, and they're intended for time-definite, project-specific work, especially where the funding is of a short-term duration and not permanent.
Senator Ingebrigtsen.
And then they know that they're done then at that point?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's very clear from
Yeah.
the point the job is posted.
Good. Thanks.
Very good. Any further questions? I see none. Senator Cran, final comments?
Madam Chair, I appreciate the lively discussion, and we'd appreciate a yes vote out of the committee, and let's bring it to the floor tomorrow.
We'll get
these
this report
contracts
signed
ratified.
tonight and get it going. That's right. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair?
Senator Ingebrigtsen.
Madam Chair, I move that House File 3346, the unofficial engrossment, be recommended to pass and placed on general orders.
Members on that motion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion prevails. And House File 3346 is placed on general orders.
Thank you, Madam
Senator
Chair
Cran.
and committee.
Thank you, Ms. Weber. Thank you, Ms. Batson. So members, I think this is it. I think this is our maybe? I don't know. We'll see. Does a bonding bill have to come to finance?
Yes.
Oh, well, maybe we're still, maybe I can delay this goodbye. Thank you for everybody. But yes, you did. You made the last motion. If I do want to say that working with Dallas Fisher and Kelly Johnson and Eric Nauman, Tom Bonner, the best part of this job, and all my members around this table. I have the highest respect for my colleagues across the aisle. Garrett, thank you very much for pinch hitting here. And of course, Alex and Kennedy and Anna and Matt and Callie, you guys have been the best. You're the force behind all this magic at this table. So really appreciate you guys setting us up and taking care of us. And of course, everybody that comes to this committee, thank you so much. But perhaps I'll be back. Perhaps we'll have another hearing. But if not, it's been a great run. So with that, Senate Finance Committee is adjourned.
Thank you.